Check, 1, 2. This is our first live in quite some time. Are we actually live, though, is the question. We are, and it went through. Hello, everyone. It's been a while. Welcome back. I'm your host, Man of Letters, Keith, here to bring you some knowledge, information, and hopefully, at the very least, a bit of entertainment. Oh, man. Let's see. If you're playing this back, what I'm doing is I'm going to my channel to make sure that we are actually live. We are. I've clicked on our channel and it would appear. Got it. It would appear. Let me turn that off. Ron Gagnon. Oh, that's funny that I didn't realize his last name was Gagnon. I know one other Gagnon in my life, and he's this older cat who has just super well read and is just a kookster. He's an older kookster with a million stories. He knows about everything from ancient history to like pyramid power, though he doesn't talk about it. He's not necessarily like a spiritual person. He actually, I don't know, the dude's just a kook, but he's awesome and he lives on a farm out here. His name's John Gagnon, and he's great people. But nice to see you, Ron. Thanks for the support, man. Hello from Southern California. It's nice to see you. Basically, I wanted to come on, do a live, and just say hello. I haven't gone live consistently in probably a year. How long's it been, guys? Well, I wonder if we'll even get some of the squad back in here. It's been quite some time. You might have to build that back up. But it's all good. It's all good. I'm just stoked to be here. I want to read some of my favorite chapters from the Kolbrin Bible, the last one that we just did. There were some heaters in there that I just want to bring back and have a discussion, have some people share their thoughts and share their ideas, and just do the damn thing. You know what I mean? Otherwise, everything seems to be doing just fine, just fine and dandy. Did you end up finishing the audiobook, Ron? Out of curiosity. Is this fucking hot or what? Yeah, it's super hot. At any point, let me know if you guys are having issues with the sound, and I can make adjustments as we need. I'm checking the live from my phone and making sure that that's good. We're gonna get started in just a second. Just a second, going over some of the heater passages out of the Kolbrin Bible from the last book that we just released. Yes, it's live and it's. I'm checking the live from my phone and the quality sounds fantastic. Shout out New Mike. Welcome to the studio, by the way. Not quite a studio. It's actually a shed in my backyard made out of wood. And every couple days I have to blow the termite droppings off of my desk because they seem to move to the wood directly above me. Check. That's better. Here we go. The gag, then that you knew she was laughing because it sounds like me. All right. Are you tall? Do you happen to be somewhat relatively tall, wear glasses, and have like kind of a scraggly beard? Super animated. He's like, you can see the spirit in his eye, and he talks almost like an old Westerner. I don't know how to describe it. It's funny. All right. Well, let's go. I want to read this part. And this will be released as a podcast, so I will go ahead and edit this after. Maybe we can get some more growth on the channel by starting a podcast for it and grow the empire a little more that way, because Your boy over here has big plans and big goals. A lot of them have been coming to fruition, which is why I haven't been live too much, you guys. I'm sorry. I love you, but it's just, man, there is only so much Keith, and I can only spread so thin. You know what I mean? It's like PB and J. You don't want to spread it too thin. You know what I mean? You want to make sure each section is lathered on there properly, so that with each bite, the flavor profile is just spread evenly and tastefully, all pun intended. With that being said, we have been spreading that jelly a little more over the YouTube channel lately, and it's been great because I miss being here in the den. Even though I share this wall with the neighbors, and you might hear them singing mariachi music at some point tonight. You might be singing mariachi music at some point tonight with the neighbors. That's just how we roll out here in the barrio. You know, it's just how we roll out here. Fret not. Fret not. Blonde and blue-eyed, average height. Oh, you're a proper Aryan. All right, Sir Gagnon, we're gonna read some of my favorite chapters. It might be some of yours too, if you've been this diligent on it. Everyone else, all four of you wallflowers, I love it. Just enjoy the vibe. Take your shoes off, stay a while. We're gonna start reading. Let's go. This is chapter 12, the 87th scroll. Our deeds are as thistledown launched upon the wind. We know not whence the winds of chance will bear them, or whether they will take roots or be borne away, as though they never were. Our works are as edifices of mud built upon the river banks, which are swept away by the rising waters. The one certain thing in life is change. Men make plans. They are as naught, they are as words written on the waters, as commands given to the winds. Wise is he who knows the plans of God, for to them the whole earth conforms. Men cry out at the tribulations of life, not knowing that by adversity alone can they find their souls. They say, why are we beset with trial and tribulation? For they cannot understand the contest. They say, why must we seek and never find, knowing not that life is not but a search, and at the end man can discover nothing except man. O man, gaze well upon the earth. See, is it not by its nature a place of labor, and not a garden of pleasure, or a pander to your weaknesses? I'm going to read that one again for the people in the back. O man, gaze gaze ye well upon the earth. See, is it not by its nature a place of labor, and not a garden of pleasure, or a panderer to your weaknesses? I feel like some people might find offense to that last line. Shots fired, as they say. Shots fired. Truth is found in the book of life, but it may be understood just by degrees. For who among men receiving the whole would not be overwhelmed and destroyed? In general, men are childlike, give the people deceitful pleasure. The gods of fear are held in reverence, but the great God who banishes fear, they despise. O foolish people, O foolish generation. With dust on my head, I mourn your ignorance. With loud lamentations, I decry your folly. Yet the path you have chosen freely. Ease and comfort appear to be your end and purpose. The gods of deceit have temples of splendor. Their priests are well clothed and overfed. But the great God of truth has no more than a hidden cavern. His servants, garbed in rags, their bellies empty. The gods of lust, cruelty. They have storehouses of treasure, but the God of kindness has not even a field. The people worship gods that oppress and ignore the God who frees. They give to the gods that take and spurn the God who gives. Oh, misguided, misguided generation. O blind and ignorant people, to cherish the stone gods of death and mock the God of life. O misguided generation, to clasp to its breast the things that inherit decay and spurn the things that inherit everlastingness. Let the destroyer come as the whirlwind of the barren places. In the dread day of its appearance, the works of ignorance shall go down to everlasting. Ho ho! Diwada! Very peculiar, don't you think? It's just hot. I don't know how you guys feel about tea. I feel like I want to be the type of person who likes tea, but I can't. I feel like it takes me twice as long to drink hot tea than everyone else. Everyone else is like, this is so good. It's just the perfect temperature. And when I drink it, same duration of time has passed, and it's so hot that I scald my tongue and I can't taste anything for like a day and a half. Um, that being said, I have a full glass of tea. Cheers, everyone. Thank you for joining the live. Um, Hello from Southern California. I really enjoyed the show. Yeah, we do have somewhat a sense of humor on our lives, Ron. I only wish the rest of the squad could be here because we used to have quite the squad in here, but um, I think we just haven't been live in such a long time. Coffee's nice too. Coffee's nice too. You guys like your coffee out there, huh? I'm lucky enough. One of my bandmates roasts his own coffee, has his own coffee shop, so we get same day roasted coffee from the homie. Fair trade, organic, free range, cage free beans. If you guys know what I'm saying. Um. Anywho, that last excerpt, man, there was a couple lines in there that that I really wish. So here was one in this chapter and some others. The Kolbrin Bible mentions that the earth is not a place of. It's supposed to be a place of suffering and turmoil. Not necessarily of suffering and turmoil, but it's not supposed to be like the garden of pleasure. That the next place that we go to is supposed to be that garden of pleasure. Um, and I don't know if that maybe that's the ego side of me that says no, not down. But I do feel that way. No, not down. Why can we not create that thing, that perfection that the Kolbrin or the Emerald Tablets or any of these ancient texts, they all there tends to be this theme of don't attain the Garden of Eden here. And I don't know, I'm just not buying that. I understand where they're coming from. I understand that um it takes turmoil to grow. It builds character. If you grow a plant indoors, for example, without a fan, when that plant comes to bear fruit, because there was no resistance from the wind, the plant will not have reinforced its stem. And so when the weight of the fruit begins to form on the plant topples over because there was not enough resistance while it was growing. And so correspondingly speaking, life is the same way. We need a certain amount of adversity to grow. If we are not growing, we are dying, as they say. Um, but I don't necessarily. I wasn't necessarily buying into the Colburn aspect where it was saying. I think it goes into more detail in other chapters that this is specifically for the hardship and the turmoil. It's like why can't we create? if we are infinite beings, if we are infinite creators, why can we not, yes, have the turmoil, but also have the paradise that we want here with the pleasures of music and the pleasures of song and the pleasures of a beautiful woman and the pleasures and the carnal pleasures, if you will. Why can't we have that as long as we are balanced, as long as we are not being completely consumed by our, how does it word it in the chapter we just read? Not consumed by our, pandering to our weaknesses. Says, oh man, gaze well upon the earth. See, is it not by its nature a place of labor and not a garden of pleasure, or a panderer to your weaknesses? There are some parts of this book um, that seem a little. Now, maybe this isn't one of those spots. It's a bad example, but um, again, just like the regular Christian Bible was written and edited by man, by a man who doesn't necessarily have it all figured out. So I'm not. While there are a lot of gems, and I do believe that a lot of this book is a recollection of actual events gone past, without a doubt. I'm not sold that everything in here is verbatim. There was a couple things. I think it was talking about concubines, or the role of women and men, where it was super downplaying women and just totally throwing them under the bus. And it was like, yeah, I'm a person of balance. I'm definitely a man of balance on all fronts. Is my point, is what I'm getting at. And when a certain text seems to be out of balance, out of rhythm, in other words, I tend to. That's where I'm like, all right, they're only human. Maybe this is their interpretation. Maybe they had certain experiences in their life that gave them these thoughts. They gave them these beliefs. So, as with all texts, um, one must take with a grain of salt and some tea. Maybe take it with a grain of salt and some tea, some moderately hot tea, not scalding hot tea, or coffee. Right? Maybe some coffee. What do you guys think? Um, this Ron Gagnon says the suffering and pain we go through can build our souls more if we can seek the light instead of dwelling on the negative aspects. The suffering and pain we go through can build our souls more if we seek the light instead of, yes, yes. So to go deeper into that, um, to say this realm is for suffering and this realm is not for pandering to carnal pleasures, um, and to say that when we get to the next realm, all of a sudden that's the spot where we give into the carnal pleasures, or we can have our garden of bliss, and where hardship and sacrifice and laboring doesn't exist. Again, that's out of balance. Again, that's something that I don't believe, because I believe I know every sphere, every dimension, every plane, whatever the hell you call it, they all reciprocate. They all correspond to each other, just to varying degree. So, in other words, I don't think you'll ever surpass having to labor, surpass hardship. I don't care if you're in the third dimension, the fourth dimension, the fifth, sixth, seventh dimension. I don't care if you're a goddamn archangel. I don't care if you're Anki himself. All the way up the ladder, there will always be, to varying degree, a manifestation of hardship, of carnal pleasures, of the ability to either go forward or go backwards. You can always slip down no matter what level you're at. So, for example, if you say, like the Kolbrin Bible says, that this land is for laboring, I believe that the next land will also be for laboring to varying degree. I believe the next step along the evolutionary path will not be paradise. It will have its own downfalls. It will have its own avenues of slipping. It will have its own carnal pleasures that, if overindulged, will kick you back down here. Just like here, there's carnal pleasures that will kick you down to lower dimensions. It's all sort of intertwined. It's not necessarily black and white, or at least it wouldn't make sense if it were. It wouldn't make sense if all of a sudden there was just this, that we just crossed this threshold and everything is perfection and everything is just, now it's the Garden of Eden. I'm not sold on that, because we it is provable in nature that we live in a what's the word? We live in a holographic universe. You look at the veins in your eyeballs and the creases in your hands, and they match plant roots and mushroom mycelium, and the neural networks in your brain. Patterns exist on all planes. It's just the only thing that changes is the degree of manifestation. And that's one of the things that I read actually in the Kolbrin Bible, which was why it is in the chapter we just read. In hermetics, we call this law of correspondence. In the chapter we just read, he says, "Wise is he who knows the plans of God, for to them the whole earth conforms." The one certain thing in life is change. Men make plans. They are as naught. They are as words written on waters, as commands given to the winds. Wise is he who knows the plans of God, for to them the whole earth conforms. The plans of God are the patterns, are the blueprints. The blueprints. Hey, did you bring the blueprints for the construction of this house? Is the same as saying, hey, did you bring the plans for the construction of this house? If you have that, and you understand that we're in a holographic universe and everything corresponds to everything else, then you have the plans of God. And if you have the plans of God, the whole earth conforms. Essentially, that's fucking, man, I shouldn't have cussed. We could have just gotten I black out and I drop F-bombs sometimes. You guys, sorry. I get excited. And then we'll see if we can monetize this video. We should be fine. We should be fine. One or two here and there is not that big of a deal. This realm can be a personal hell or heaven. It's about how we perceive what we went through, says Mr. Gagnon. Hello, everyone. Come on in. There's 8 of us in here. 9, I guess, including myself. Introduce yourselves. Hello. Are you new? Are you guys all new? Are you old cats? I've missed you guys. I hope you're doing well. Take your shoes off. Stay a while. Are you guys familiar with the Kolbrin Bible, with Hermetics, with Emerald Tablets, with Hermes, with Thoth, Anunnaki? Where do ye hail from? Where do ye hail from? Oh God, I hope I can't unplug that, can I? Rusty. Oh, you have a cup like that? You like it? I can't remember where I got it from. English Setter. At Point English Setter. Oh, I guess it's the dog. Makes me feel very official. Shout out Cool Mug Squad. Anywho, shall we read the next chapter? Shall we read the next chapter? Okay. That was chapter 20. Commentary of Frater Astoris. From the days of the ancients have been heard the lamentations of the woeful and disheartened. And they ask the winds, where have we failed for the God we pray to remain unresponsive? They air their goodness and virtues and ask why these have gone unrewarded. It becomes a grievance with them, and they know not where to seek the answer. In this generation, our generation, goodly men have been robbed of their estates by warlike strangers, and their wives have been ravaged by men who have studied the ways of weaponry. Their possessions have been sold to provide earthly pleasure for those who revel in things of the earth, and their households have been despoiled to give pleasure to fornicating fighters. In their dire despair, they seek to lay the blame upon a God who does not strike down wrongdoers and seemingly rewards those who are earthly wise. Wherein have they failed? This is the echo and the corridors of the ages. They have failed because they have left to God. I'm gonna hope you guys are listening. They have failed because they have left to God the things which they, as God's overseers on earth, should have accomplished themselves. It is men in the mass who permit evil to flourish in their midst. Their woeful lamentations ascends to heaven and call upon the heavenly hosts for aid, but better by far would it be were they to call upon their own resolution and fortitude and fight the good fight to bring about the rule of right and justice. All that is wrong with the world has its genesis in men. And if evil stalks the land, then it follows the attitudes and acts of men. Therefore, it is men who must make recompense for their lack of effort producing concern. If the people establish the way of iniquity as their way, then it is the wrongdoers who will be rewarded with bounty. And this is not God's will, but man's. If the people lament and are disenchanted with the way things are, then it is time for action rather than a time for prayer. Pray not for heavenly help, but for a strong right arm and righteous wrath and resolution. The gospel of the gospel of despair is for weaklings. If evil be established by the sword, then it is because the swords of the good have lacked strength and numbers. Those who petition the great God for help must be sure they have lacked nothing in their own preparations. They must fight strength with strength, and where they lack numbers, they must fight with subtlety, but above all else, they must fight. This is the law they have ignored, and their woe begotten lamentations are as a stench to the Most High. Whew! More shots fired. Dude, homeboy's coming in hot. This book was written debatably, so a lot of people are like, "Oh, 500 BC. It may have been recopied in 500 BC." But the stuff that this book's talking about is we're talking tens of thousands of years ago. I'm talking back when Göbekli Tepe was created, when the pyramids and the Sphinx of Egypt were actually created, not fucking dynastic Egypt. Dynastic Egypt wasn't even the twinkle in the eye of its father when this stuff was being written. And they were still talking about stuff about today, like we were praying when you should be doing something about it. In other words, feel personally attacked. Am I the only one that feels attacked? Like, hey, will you settle down, bro? You take it easy. It's Monday. It's a Monday night, dude. I'm trying to relax and enjoy my tea. Maybe watch some Outlander on Netflix, and I've got you over here just You know, uncalled for, uncalled for. Um, yes, Ron Gagnon, absolutely. Mr. Gagnon says how he perceives this chapter was that when good is that good men need to take a stand to defend our women and children and protect them, and not allow evil men and individuals to destroy what they have created. Amen. All pun intended. Amen. Amen. What word? Bless up. I don't know how many other ones we can come up with, but you guys get the picture. Point being, and today the gods are, it's not a lot of people. It still is the same God, more or less, of the Old Testament Bible, or New Testament Jesus. Um, but a lot of people's gods now are politicians. A lot of people's gods now are Biden or Trump or their senator or their favorite celebrity or their favorite musician, and or Bob Marley. Everyone's looking up to these great, looking there. Everyone's looking to someone else to fix shit, and it's like, who are you? Who are we? Are we nobody? Am I nobody? Are you nobody? Or are we somebody? If not you and I, then who else? And it's just I love that a text like this that is so rooted in lore and mythology and gods and the Most High, etc., etc., will still, and written, debated realistically probably tens of thousands of years ago, can still be real about it and say something like, "Get off your knees and stop praying and pick up the goddamn sword." You are a shepherd of this earth, are a caretaker of this planet, and I've given you all the tools and knowledge available, and the numbers, and 2 eyes and 2 ears and a mouth. It's funny in here. He says, when I first read this, I kind of chuckled to myself because he talked about where are we at? The ancients, where they failed. He's what you need is a strong right arm or something like that. And in my head, I don't know, because I used to be into boxing when I was younger. I was like, oh, he's got a strong right hook, and I like immediately went into the author of this chapter being like Muhammad Ali in your corner. So you gotta have a. It's like, you want to win in this world, you gotta have a strong right hook. Or I guess he wouldn't sound like that. He'd be like, you want to have a strong right, you gotta have a strong right hook there. Fly like a butterfly. Something like that. I guess my Muhammad Ali impression's not up to date, but you guys know what I mean. Um, Society today, if we had more good men decided to stand up, we would have less evils happening. Oh, yes. Ain't that fresh? Everybody want to get down like that. Cheers, everybody. Cheers. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for. Oh, we have 12 people watching. It's like you guys are like the 12 disciples right now. Not that I'm audacious enough to call myself Jesus, though I guess technically I am. I don't mean it that way. It just came out that way. I'm sorry. Anywho, cheers. This is not the last, but the first supper. I'm drinking some. We harvested some. I was fortunate enough to chance upon a grove, a hidden trove of hummingbird sage, and it was in bloom. Lucky us. Now I got a whole bunch of blossoms from it, and so we're having some hummingbird sage blossom tea. Hummingbird sage, uh, Salvia sparacea is. I distilled, just to give you an idea of what this herb is like. I ran it through my distiller, 5 liters of it, and ended up with like 10 milliliters of essential oil from hummingbird sage. It's in the sage family, salvia family, and the essential oil smelled, I shit you not, debatably identical to Starburst candy, the candy, Starburst candy. Obviously, 1,000 times more potent, but it was, oh man, it was divine. And the Kolbrin Bible is trying to tell me that this isn't a place of carnal pleasures. Yeah, right, Kolbrin. I invite you to smell some of my sage essential oils and have you put your foot in your mouth, Kolbrin, Lady Kolbrin, because this tea is a carnal pleasure. When it's not melting my tongue off, it is certainly a carnal pleasure. Cheers. I'm really stoked that this live is running smooth. I got a new laptop. One of the reasons why I stopped going live, if you guys are here from the channel before, is because my child spilled water on my laptop, and the fan now runs at like 120,000% speed, super ultra speed, fast lightning 3000, and it's too loud. I can't run lives. I can't record audiobooks, so I'm using a new laptop finally, and but it's running fantastic. I'm really happy with it. Ron, my favorite herb is shmamabis. Here it's legal, so we grow our own. When I have tea, it's, oh really? I like that. I don't know how much talking I can do on that yet. You know how YouTube is. But around here we call it oregano. So I don't partake in cannabis, but I do partake in oregano. And I've been really uh, going deep into THCA, the acid, and how therapeutic and healing that is when it's not converted to its psychoactive counterpart. Anywho, I don't want to talk too much about it because I don't know how. I The world we live in, it just makes me sad sometimes. It just makes me really sad sometimes. It's because good men don't stand up to evil, is what it is. Is that what it is? It's like, stop praying to the God. Get off your knees, Keith, and pick up the sword. Work on work on that right hook. For once in your life, work on that right hook for the love of all that is holy, for the love of the Most High. Work on that right hook. All right, let's keep reading. You have some more stuff. This one isn't by chapter. I think I just started adding little tidbits. Osira. Now this Osira of whom I speak is even he whom the people of this land have made a god. For the twice born who have wisdom have let it be thus. Call him man or call him God. It is a matter of small importance. For the boundary between them is not impassable. Petty men will argue about the distinctions of words, but they would be better engaged in discovering truth. Woo! Hey! I'm gonna read that one again. Now Osira, of whom I speak, is even he whom the people of this land have made a god. For the twice born who have wisdom have let it be thus. Call him man or call him God, it is a matter of small importance, for the boundary between them is not impassable. Petty men will argue about the distinctions of words, but they would be better engaged in discovering truth. All right, so I don't know if you guys are into the Emerald Tablets at all, but the Emerald Tablets speaks of the thrice born, who I would assume at one point in his or her life was the twice born, and before that the once born. Kind of obvious. Anywho, the twice born. Interestingly enough, so at first I was like, "Oh, coincidence, twice born," until it talked about there being no difference between man and God, or at least the difference being subtle, because in the Emerald Tablets, the phrase goes something like, "O son of man, ye shall be like the gods, and one day even greater than them as they appear to you now. For such is the destiny of man." And he says it a number of times in the Emerald Tablets. Basically, what, and it goes furthermore to say, not only will you be as the gods and greater, but your imaginations cannot even conceive of the level of godliness that you are bound to become sooner or later. And this passage says the same thing. That's why I wrote it down, because I basically wanted to do a whole section on the correlations between the Emerald Tablets and Kolbrin Bible, because there are all these texts, man. There was a global civilization back then. If you don't feel that and understand that by now, then you ever see, if you've seen Matrix, the people who were in the pods plugged into the Matrix, you are that person still plugged into the pod. It ain't your fault. It's just the machine elves just have us locked in right now. And as a result, it's really hard for us to hear, or I should say, it's really hard for us to feel truths. And this, and fortunately enough for the youth, for all of us, you don't even have to go based on feeling. There is a mountain of evidence across the planet of a universal culture that was putting in work thousands of years before we should have been putting in work. Gobekli Tepe dated mainstream archaeology dates this site at 10,000 BC, something like that. 12,000 years ago, people were supposedly running around with rocks tied to the end of sticks. They were really sharp rocks. They were pretty dope, and I probably couldn't make one now. In fact, most people couldn't. But nonetheless, people who lived in huts and caves were running, or quote unquote caves, and were running around quote unquote with sticks. Yet they were organizing themselves to build massive superstructures aligned to celestial destinations, stones weighing tens, thousands of pounds. GTFHO. Get the GTFHO. You guys know what I'm trying to say. There was a global civilization all over the place. So when you're reading, point being, when you're reading these texts, you would be wise to correlate as much as possible between all these old ones, between the Sumerian tablets, between the Old Testament, between the New Testament, between the Bhagavad Gita. Those are probably the big ones, right? I don't know any of the Oriental texts. That actually might be a good avenue to go down. I don't. Do you guys come across that often? I'm talking like in-depth creation stories like the Bhagavad Gita, or like the Sumerian tablets, something on that level, Kolbrin Bible, something on that level, but for the Orient. I would actually should go into that, because that would be a good one to sort of dive into. Um the Rishat structure. Yes, I have checked out the Rishat structure, and it's pretty amazing. It's I feel like one would almost have to go out of their way. One would almost have to spitefully go out of their way to deny that there was a civilization that spanned the entire planet and was doing some massive things tens of thousands of years ago. Agreed, Gagnon. I haven't seen too much of the Oriental side of the past, which is interesting, right? There should be something. Why? There should be something behind that, because there totally should be. That should be pretty blasted around by this point. Um. Anywho, hello, everyone new who's just stepping in. My name's Keith. Thanks for stopping by. Rusty Utter, Mr. Gagnon. Thank you guys for joining in on the comment section. This would be real boring if I were just talking to myself. But the ones who aren't talking and who are just allowing us to be the vibe setters, maybe you're just having a glass of wine and the candles are lit and you've had a long day and you're just on the couch, YouTube on the TV, just listening to some occult texts, getting the mind bubbles going, or maybe just doing the dishes or cooking food, and we're there with you. We appreciate that too. At least I do. Milks. I remember Milks. I couldn't remember your name, but I remembered your image. I knew Milks. I didn't remember, but thanks for still being here, brother. Sorry I went MIA for a little bit. I really am. I did feel guilty. But such is life. You guys ever used to play Diablo? Stay a while and listen. Decade. Stay a while and listen. Here's this old video game called Diablo that I used to play religiously as a child and into adulthood. Anywho, one of the NPC characters' names was Deckard Cain, and he was like an old man, old monk who would basically identify magical items for you if you didn't have scrolls to do it yourself, and would just lead you throughout the game through all the different worlds and stuff. Deckard Cain. And I I pretend like I'm him sometimes. Anywho, shall we read some more? Shall we read some more? Oh, if you guys are new, one of the people that are watching now, please subscribe to the channel, like the video. We have 8 people watching and 8 likes. I love it. Thank you. Appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate all of you more than you realize. All right. Let's see if we can get cracking. We're pushing the hour mark, so maybe we'll leave it at the hour. I might get kicked off at the hour too because I'm using a new streaming software, but I'll have OBS running next time, and it'll be tasty. It'll be tasty, I promise. Not that it's not tasty now, but you guys know what I mean. Okay. Let's is this? Okay, let's go. Men lacking understanding will say, I write about mortals and not gods. And this is true as it is false. The truth is that there are no fixed regions of gods, spirits, and mortals separate from one another. Neither are all these entirely separate and different forms of beings. There is no impenetrable boundary between mortals, spirits, and gods. Neither is it to be understood that mortals reach the status of gods entirely by their own efforts. Gods are chosen by the people and raised to godhood by the people for the benefit of the people. If they choose wisely, they are blessed, but if they choose unwisely, then whatever befalls is upon their own heads. As the people conceive their gods, so will they be. This is something hardly understood in these days. The worship of such gods is of itself neither right or wrong, for this depends entirely upon its effect and objective. If it serves the purpose of good, If it is to the spiritual benefit of man, it guides in the right direction. If it does not, or if it be sterile or purposeless, then it is at best a misleading phantom, and in its worst, it is an instrument of evil. When a man ceases to believe in his God, the fault is not wholly with either. Each is at fault. Each has equally failed the other. The man no longer serves the God as the God no longer serves the man. Neither gains, both lose. A man without a God is neither free or a whole being. His life is incomplete. He lacks something vital to his existence. When, from some cause, a God loses worshippers, he is no longer wholly a God. He becomes a God without ties, a wild God, or a wandering spirit retaining some of his powers, but none of his rank. Such then is the nature of gods, who are but beings originating as mortals, further advanced along the road towards godhood than other mortals who chose them as representatives and leaders in the heavenly sphere. If you would live with truth, never confuse gods with God, for gods are but a step upward on the stairway from man to the heavens. Literally sweating right now. It's still so hot in here. There are some things in this text that mention gods and humans, and I was clearly interested in that, which is why I wrote down a few excerpts pertaining to those things. The idea that there is really no difference between gods and man, other than, again, the varying degree of manifestation of the two things. Um, which can be a sort of symbolic, sort of woo esoteric thing, and it can be an extremely practical one, like dropping a goddamn helicopter on one of those tribes in the Amazon. They were probably like, "What in God's name is? Oh, it probably is God." They were like, "This is God's name." Was Brenda was probably like, "What in God's name?" And Dave was probably like, "That is God's name." And Brenda was like, "Oh shit!" And Dave was like, "Yeah." And so they were the gods. For all, they fly, they have ultimate power, they have ultimate knowledge, they can like make you disappear with a snap of a finger and a hand grenade. Like, the difference between man and gods is a subtle one. Sometimes it is just where one manifests on the degree of manifestation. And we have the power to elevate people solely off our beliefs. It can be as sort of as raw as the example as I gave, or as refined as we elevate people to the status of God by like a president or a celebrity. Everyone buys Kanye West's CD, or whoever's the most famous artist right now, or Taylor Swift. Everyone, Taylor Swift's lowest ticket was $700, and that was for nosebleed tickets. But everyone buys them, everyone goes, everyone screams her name, everyone chants, and so in a way, she has been elevated to godhood, meaning she has an extremely large amount of power. That woman could probably make little girls faint just by looking at them. I'm sure there's videos online of her doing just that. She could probably get away with murder at this point. In fact, celebrities have gotten away with murder in the past, and worse. I don't even want to mention the things that some of the celebrities have gotten away with at this point in time, because we have elevated them to godhood. We have given them power, very literally and physically have given them power. So much so by the masses that we imbue with our attention onto them. We imprint our power onto them just by attention. That's the name of the game. Where your attention goes, your power goes. And that's why There are a million billboards all over the place. That's why there's ads in between videos. That's why there's marketing campaigns. That's why trillions of dollars are spent every year to capture your attention, because your attention is power. And the more attention they grab, the more powerful they become. And again, like the text, like the Kolbrin just says, it's not necessarily a bad thing. It's neither good nor bad. It simply depends upon, is that God being used to uplift the people, or is that God being used to bring them down? Someone like Bob Marley was using his celebrity, his godhood, to unify people, to bring up. I remember, I'll never forget that speech. It pops up on social media all the time. That reporter goes, "Do you make a lot of money playing music?" "We make a lot of money." "What do you mean make a lot of money?" He says, are you rich? Are you a rich man?" He says, "A lot of money make." He says, "A lot of money make a man rich." Is that what rich? He says, "Is that what riches is? Money? Is that what makes a man rich?" He says, "I don't have money. I don't have things. Those things don't make a man rich." They killed his ass. You best believe you go down that rabbit hole. Bob Marley was. I probably shouldn't have said what I just said. Again, I need to be careful. I'm not used to talking on lives. I gotta, I gotta be more hip. Be careful how I talk on these lives, man. Anywho, um, HOGD and Thelma followers. If you look closely, Crowley is in the crowd on one of the albums. No way. Interesting. That they don't always say what they really want you to say is. All right. Anywho, well, thank you guys for hanging out. I'm gonna go. My girl made me some. There's some roast. There's some tasty roast stew on. It's been slow roasted over the past day, and I'm really excited. I'm also really excited that I got to go live with you guys tonight. Sir Milks, thanks for still being here. Sir Gagnon, thank you for joining the channel members and really giving me that momentum to pick back up my audiobooks. I appreciate that, brother. I needed that. I was planning on doing it anyways, but I would not have come in with the gusto that I did had it not been for your kind and motivating messages. I appreciate that tremendously. A man's soul will reflect. So I think they're saying is man's soul will reflect his beliefs, and that it doesn't really matter if we worship whether it's a man-made God or God itself, as long as it's for good, then it's good. 100%. 100%. I didn't touch on that too much, but that was really noteworthy for me when I was reading this, was how it actually didn't downplay man worshiping statues. And another part of the Bible, maybe we'll talk about it on our next live. It mentions how to specifically how men take gods and capture them in statues and give them power, and then how the statues can actually do the things they are worshipped to do. It's almost like imbuing a statue with fertility, and it almost takes on this vibration of fertility and can radiate that energy in a way subtly to its vicinity, to its acute vicinity, if you will. And it doesn't downplay it. Again, it just says, how is that thing being used? If it's used for good, then it's good. If it's being used for bad, then it's bad. Just know that it is. Just don't confuse that with the Most High, is what it says. Know that that power is actually coming from you, and it is not the Most High. So yes, well said, Gagnon. Well said. Well said. But I appreciate you guys too. I'll talk to you guys next Monday or sooner if I get excited. And I'll start working on the next Kolbrin immediately. Immediately. All right, everyone. Good night and Godspeed.